Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Dan here, and we're doing a bit of a two-video thing today. Uh, the first video that went up would have been the SU-101 uh, upgrade first impressions video thing. This one, we're going to be focusing on the lower tier new Czechoslovakian tanks that were recently added into World of Tanks with the most recent patch. So I'm going to go through these tanks and tell you the basic concept of them, the weapons that you're going to want to be using, and if they're more of a grind or a pleasure tank. So I've done a few battles in each of these. I kind of know how these things play out because they're similar to some other tanks as well, specifically the German, a specific German line. These tanks are very similar to them. Okay, so we're going to get started then. This is the Tier 1 tank. Now, as a heads up, I'm not going to bother trying to pronounce any of these tank names just because, although I am Slavic, uh, I that's just part of my uh, blood, basically. I can't speak this kind of stuff, so uh, just a fair warning, I am not going to butcher these names in any way whatsoever because I'm not going to say them. So here we are, Tier 1. If you sign in, you're going to automatically get this tank in a garage slot for free. I believe I think you get a garage slot. I'm pretty sure. Okay, so this thing, the easiest way to describe it is, the M3 Lee. This is the new turd on tracks, basically. Even though this thing has a turret, I feel that this thing is worse than the Lee in every way, shape, and form. It's got basically no armor. Its top speed is 25 kilometers an hour. Even though it only weighs about 8 tons with what I have fitted, uh, it's so slow, and I hated this thing. I only did one battle in it, and I was just like, no, I'm never touching this thing again. Uh, Basically, the only upgrade you get on this tank is a gun, which more or less, I mean, you're obviously gonna have to get this to get to the tier 2 tank. So nothing overly important there. At least the rate of fire is pretty good. So that being said, we're now going to move on to tier 2. This thing is not much better. Now, at least this thing doesn't look like a box. That's the first thing I'm going to say. The weapon selection on this is a little bit better. So if we go here, uh, you get this gun. I believe this is the same gun that you have on the. Nope, never mind. Ignore what I was just saying. Uh, you get two guns, both of which are similar, except one of them has a better rate of fire and better aim time / accuracy. And then everything else is just an upgrade from there. Now, when it comes to like the way this thing handles, it is faster. The armor is slightly better, and that's about it. I still felt this thing was sluggish, and it doesn't improve from there. At tier 3, we have basically the same tank, as you can see, except this thing appears to be an HD model. I'm not gonna bet any money on that because I have no idea. And this thing I did 2 battles in, something like that, and I did not upgrade this thing the full way just because I did not like it at all. This thing felt a lot slower than the other machine, even though its top speed is better and it weighs less. It didn't feel overly fast, and well, this thing does have something very interesting though. The tier 4 gun at the end is an autoloader. Now, this thing being fully upgraded might actually be worthwhile. Maybe less of a grind and more of an enjoyment thing. Just because this top gun has 82 millimeters of penetration, does 40 damage per shot, 3 shells per magazine, and a 5-second reload to get your 3 shells back. So, the gun itself is pretty good. I have not touched it yet, but based upon the way the gun looks, I have a feeling this would be the only reason why you would want to keep this tank at all. It's similar to, for instance, the Panzer IIG's gun, except this reloads significantly faster. Um, and that's basically all I have to say for this tank. And now we move on to the tier 4 machine. So this is the first medium tank in the line, and this is where I have my current crew. For these lower tier tanks, I'm not bothering with leveling up my crew members to the proper rank until I get to at least tier 5, because that's when I'm going to hit the sort of stopping point where it's going to take a little bit longer, and I'm going to be able to want to make sure my crew members are leveled up properly. So, first impressions of this machine. Not really great either. And I feel like that's the main problem with these lower tier tanks is there's nothing special about them. It does have fairly decent turret armor. I mean, for a tier 4 tank, 60 millimeters is decent, but again, it's very flat and can be penetrated quite easily with its own gun. Speaking of the gun, well, technically speaking, you get 3 different gun selections. Obviously, this 47 millimeter is the best choice out of all of these guns, so you're going to want to get this thing as quickly as possible because, well, 62, going up against a KV is not going to be overly pleasant with this gun. At least this, you have a slight chance. Especially with the premium ammunition, you get a better chance with it. And obviously, this tier 3 gun is sort of the same thing as this, so nothing overly special there. You will have to get this turret to fit this gun, but then again, you're already going to have researched it. Again, it's not really an overly interesting machine itself. The top speed limit is only 45 kilometers an hour. Its hull armor isn't that great. Turret armor could be a lot better, but again, you know, it's tier 4, 60 millimeters is decent at least. Penetration, it's alright. I will give it that. Damage is something to be desired just because, well, 60 average damage is going to take quite some time to take down, for instance, a tier 5 heavy tank, or just tank in general. 350 hit points, it's about par for the course. It's average. Traverse speed and turret traverse speed are on the lower end. I mean, it just, these 4 tanks up to this point have not been overly interesting. In a future video, I will cover the higher tier tanks as I get them. Probably as I go along, I'm going to just do each tank a review separate for each one, starting with the tier 5 one, just because these ones are mostly forgettable, and I got through most of these in about an hour. So, nothing too special about these tanks. Are they worth the grind? Well, that's yet to be found out because I'm not to tier 5 yet. Though, give it maybe another hour or two, I could probably be there pretty quickly. I would say none of these tanks are really worth keeping up to this point. They're mostly just there to get you up to the better ones, starting at tier 5. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and if you like the content, please leave a like on the video, comment, and tell me how good this is, and share it with your fellow tanker friends, maybe the people who don't know about these new tanks yet, and subscribe to the channel for the latest content. With that, I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Take care.